Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup. It is Friday, August the 5th, 2022. I hope you're having a lovely, lovely day. Have exciting weekend plans or staying safe in these trying times. You got COVID spreading still. Don't let them tell you it's over. You got monkeypox spreading. The economy is roaring back, i.e., it is an economic hellscape out there. But we are here to tell you what's really going on. I'm actually not live right now. I'm recording this earlier because I have to go somewhere during the live stream time. But we got a great show for you. So smash that like button. It's a thumbs up button right under the live stream. The more people that press that like button, the more people that will see this very, very stream. Share too. Sharing is caring. So share and super chats are welcome. Even though I'm not live, we really appreciate it. If you can give super chats, we have gotten almost 70 new members, since our reporting trip that started July 19th. So maybe we can get some new signups while we are here today. Membership is how we grow. Membership is how we fund the on-the-ground reporting. Membership is how we bring on new people. If you saw, we had Kim Brown hosting the other day. She's going to be guest hosting going forward. At least we're going to start out weekly. We also just brought on Spencer Snyder as a freelancer who did a great video taking down the media's love affair on Liz Cheney. He's going to be doing some more regular content from covering the media and its lies, hypocrisy, conflicts of interest. So check out that video up on the channel. We got to pay people. Obviously. So definitely, if you can, sign up. I'm also looking at some other stuff I could do on the ground. So very, very important. StatusCoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. 16 cents a day equals $5 a month. So thanks so much. And we will definitely shout you out once you sign up in the live chat. If you sign up while we're live. So on the show, we're going to cover a protest going on. I was there Tuesday night in Philadelphia, a protest going on in Philadelphia that where low-income Black tenants are soon to be forced out because a greedy real estate developer is buying the property. So they have set up a protest encampment with tents to stop themselves and fight their eviction because most of them have nowhere to go. So we're going to play a little bit of that. We were live, but a lot of people didn't see it. So we're going to play the highlights of that. I also have an interview with Wisconsin activists who are fighting. They just got, at least in one county in Wisconsin, a universal health care on the ballot. So if it passes in November, it's not going to put universal health care in place in that county, but it will actually be kind of a messaging thing that county wants universal health care, and then they're going to try and spread it to other counties. You might be wondering, well, what's that going to do? It's interesting. Their strategy is pretty interesting, and they're actually trying to almost depoliticize healthcare and make it more like, well, everybody's for funding the fire department, right? So stay tuned for that interview. I thought it was illuminating what their strategy is. But first, I want to start. If you noticed, if you turned on CNN or Twitter, the resistance and the Biden bots and the pundits on TV are declaring record awesome job numbers, over 500,000 new jobs, doubling expectations. If you actually look at the job numbers and look underneath the hood, most of the jobs that came back, even though the numbers look good, were in the hospitality industry. No disrespect to the hospitality industry, but those are not strong union jobs. Most of them are non-livable wage jobs. Most of them feature people who work more than one job. That was the bulk of the jobs that came back. You also have jobs in manufacturing, construction that they saw growth in, but the job growth is not in like strong union, high wage jobs. There also was an increase in wages, but with inflation, it basically cancels itself out. But obviously Biden is declaring mission accomplished and pundits are mission accomplished. Let's take a look at, Biden and some of the pundits' victory lap, citing that this shows the economy is doing wonderful and also that numbers are back to where they were before the pandemic. Let's take a look.
Is something that just a few years ago, many experts said was literally impossible. The revitalization of American manufacturing. Since I took office, we've created 642,000 American manufacturing jobs in America.
We begin with that breaking news on the economy. The jobs report showing U.S. employers added 528,000 jobs in July, more than double the 250,000 economists were expecting. The unemployment rate also edged down to 3.5%.
Last one. Why is the president bragging today about gas prices?
Because it's gone down.
And today's report proves Make It in America isn't just a slogan, it's my administration. It's a reality.
Diane, I have to tell you, when these numbers crossed this morning, I had to do a double take because they are incredibly strong. As you said, double what Wall Street was expecting, 528,000 jobs added, which means we have basically regained all the jobs we lost during the pandemic.
Almost 10 million jobs since I took office. That's the fastest job growth in history. Today, we also match the lowest unemployment rate in America in the last 50 years.
Back on jobs, I know you guys are excited about the jobs report, but for most people, wages for those jobs are just not keeping up with inflation. So fundamentally, is the anxiety we're hearing from Americans about the economy really an issue of wages and benefits? And what is the administration still doing to work on that?
Look, we understand what Americans are feeling. The president understands that very personally. This is why he has done the work that he's done this past 18 months.
Now, I know people will hear today's extraordinary jobs report and say they don't see it, they don't feel it in their own lives. I know how hard it is. I know it's hard to feel good about job creation when you already have a job and you're dealing with rising prices, food and gas, and so much more. I get it.
So, I mean, if you didn't actually go out there and talk to people and cover things on the ground and all you saw was that, sure, you would think things are wonderful. And I would say this if it was the Republicans in office too. Unemployment and the unemployment number is a really shitty way of looking at the economy. The unemployment number oftentimes is low because a whole lot of people have given up looking and they're not counted. It also doesn't really factor in people who are working freelance and multiple jobs. But on the surface, are things technically better than they were as everyone was falling off the cliff at the beginning of the pandemic? Yeah, it was. But the problem is, what are the jobs that are coming back? What are these core jobs that the Biden and all these pundits who are very, very wealthy and very, very out of touch, and none of them work more than one job, really, what are they? And it's just an economic hellscape. It's low-wage work, diminishing benefits, hours being cut, so a lot of companies could avoid paying you benefits. And with inflation, so many people are working extra jobs. This is all marketing. This is what Obama did after the financial crash. And when things were slowly coming back, it wasn't vibrant, high-paying union jobs. It was the same shit jobs that were lost during the pandemic. That is what our economy is based off, non-livable wage jobs. And I just showed it to you on the ground. Baked into this strong economy and these great economic numbers that Biden was just crowing about and the pundits are crowing about, they're not discussing the increase in homeless people. They're not discussing the massive increase in people facing evictions. If you live in Orlando, Tampa, LA, San Francisco, Portland, Chicago, DC, New York City. I could go on and on, even some rural communities, as housing is massively increasing. Renting and rental prices up 20%, 30%, 40% in a lot of places. Yeah, not baked into the discussion on CNN, not baked into the discussion in the New York Times and the Washington Post. And remember, smash that like button, share this live stream. The more people that press that like button, the more people that will see this very live stream. Also, super chats are welcome. And please, please consider signing up as a Status Coup member. It makes a big difference. We've gotten close to 70 new members since our reporting tour that started about a week and a half ago. So statuscoup.com/join, become a member for as low as $5 a month. So, I don't want to poo-poo any progress. It's better than it was. but we live in the United Corporations of America. They're putting lipstick on a pig. And if you don't know, and I'm sorry for people that have already seen this, I just went on the road and I just showed you what's really happening in the real economy, where actual living, breathing people, not pundits, not politicians, are literally like, treading water. Let's take a look. We're not going to play the whole video. It's just some of what's actually happening out there versus what you saw from Biden and the pundits today.
The January 6 hearings may be taking a break, but revelations about Donald Trump's complicity in
the House January 6 committee is getting ready for prime time,
including the actions that took place on the day of January 6th.
New developments today in the Justice Department's January.
Just everything's rising. When I first got my car, it's a 2016, it was $25 to fill up. Now it's probably close to 60, 70.
I always say to people, I only work half days. Half day to me is 12 hours.
We know what inflation is. We've lived it. We're the ones who suffer through it. This is so they can cut programs, they can raise up unemployment, and lay people off and don't pay them a living wage. We know their little game.
I had to count change the other day to put gas in my car to get my daughter to where she needed to go. It's a struggle, it's a scrape.
Are we in a recession, and does the term matter?
No, we aren't, and no, it doesn't. I mean,
one sentence, that was it, huh?
Yeah, that was it.
Show me where the economy is coming back, and I'll show you a population in the homeless camps that will astound you. It's sickening. There's more people coming every day.
I mean, I don't mind starting all over, but where do you go from here? Because everywhere we go is where they want to build again. And then we got to move again. Build again, and we got to move again.
We're looking at there being enough empty houses in Philly to house every homeless person that's here, and still have houses left over to fix up and rent or sell at market rate.
You can't be in a recession when you've got 300,000 plus jobs being created a month and unemployment at 3.6% and spending where it is. So not in recession yet.
You can't afford gas to protest. And people have to work. They can't take time off of work to go and organize that way.
I'm stressed about I have to make sure we have enough money and make sure I can get gas in the car, I have food and everything.
Mode.
Yeah, you're just constantly in survivor mode where it's can't think about doing anything else.
Right. You can see it was a rip-roaring 2021. The U.S. economy last year, the strongest since the Reagan administration.
If you look at our job market, consumer spending, business investment, we see signs of economic progress.
No, there's. Oh my God, having a family or having a kid right now seems like it.
Impossible.
No, I just can't imagine it happening.
Yeah.
Not in my lifetime getting pregnant.
And now it seems like Akron is hunting its own homeless. It doesn't matter where we go. If we put up a tent, they're there tearing it down. The little bit of personal belongings and memories that we had, Akron has bulldozed over.
And they try to split us. They try to us and them. And it's not a us and them. Republicans, Democrats, we're all out here. We're all working 2 jobs, and now the price of everything is we wasn't making it working 2 jobs. What are we supposed to do?
The confluence of a bunch of unusual events at the same time is a different mix. An unknown period during the pandemic, and there were people that needed help. There were people that needed support. Unfortunately, we're not really great at directing in a very specific way to people that need help. We wind up kind of directing it very broadly.
You would have gone smaller, done it differently.
I would have gone smaller.
We keep getting this lip service and we're not getting anything. And at what point are we going to get fed up? With both parties. And that's what's happening. Yeah. People are getting fed up with both parties.
Housing is like the elephant in the room that is not getting the attention that it needs because it's the underlying factor for everything. If you're not housed, you can't do shit with your life.
Minimum wage in Philadelphia is a little over $8, might be right around $8 an hour. Right. There's no way for you to live on that.
They're not raising the minimum wage.
What's the minimum wage here?
I believe it's $8.10.
But we've watched our rates increase by pennies over the past few years.
All these voters and the Democrats and Republicans, it's just red team versus blue team. It's all the same team. It's just bread and circuses, and I'm hoping people will start to see. I'm sure they are.
I'm addressing y'all directly right now. Stand up, because if you don't, you lose. We lose as a people if you do nothing. So standing up is vitally important.
All we have got is you and ourselves to get out here, and we've got to go protest. Well, that's all we've got. We don't have the money for that kind of media, for that kind of outreach. That's the reason it's going to take all of us joining our resources and our voices together.
Does that look like a roaring economy? Does that look like things are bouncing back? Does that look like, we just got a little more work to do? No, this is an economic Hunger Games. Okay? We haven't, in this new Build Back Better deal, whatever they're talking about, the Inflation Reduction Act, they're not even raising the minimum wage. That's one of the only actual policies Biden ran on. They're not even raising the minimum wage. Oh, the parliamentarian says we can't. The minimum wage in this country is $7.25. When you factor in inflation, you're looking closer to $6, $6.50. Who the hell could even afford a bathroom in a major American city? A bathroom in an apartment would cost more than what the minimum wage is paying. But these liars and thieves are telling you things are great. The economy's doing wonderful. Yeah. The jobs that have come back are the same capitalism, exploitation, barely surviving jobs that we have had in this country for 20 to 30 years, as jobs have been offshored, as unions have been decimated. We're having a little momentum now with the Starbucks workers, Amazon workers, now Trader Joe's workers unionizing. The same neoliberal policies, the planet's on fire. The response is, hey, let's give some neoliberal tax incentives, $370 billion of historic climate legislation, as Ro Khanna is calling it. They're giving neoliberal tax incentives and dressing it up as historic climate legislation. It's the equivalent of your house is on fire and the fire department comes with a super soaker, is this new deal that Manchin blessed and the progressives are going along with. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I don't know what you think. Are you feeling better? Are you feeling like things are getting better? Are you feeling that the economy is strong and we're back to pre-pandemic levels? If you are, let me know in the chat. I doubt it. Things are not getting better. Things are getting worse for the masses. Which brings me to, as they are crowing about this strong, vibrant economy, as they are crowing, oh, the job numbers are, double what we thought, and this shows the economy is great, and Biden's saying this is a historic economic comeback. There are poor people, working poor people around this country that you're either directly facing eviction or just one or two steps away from being homeless. I've been covering an apartment complex in Philadelphia in which low-income tenants are facing eviction because of a greedy owner who's selling to a greedy real estate developer. It's a HUD property, housing and urban development property, that the owner didn't renew the contract with HUD and is trying to sell to a real estate developer who very likely is either going to bulldoze it and build high-rise luxury condos and jack up the rents, or sell it to Drexel University or University of Pennsylvania around it. People there that I've interviewed have lived there for 30 years, 25 years, 20 years, and they got nowhere else to go. They're low-income Black tenants. Many are disabled. Many are senior citizens. This is not being covered in the national news. There are tents on the property. Community members have come and are protesting on the property in support of the tenants. Not being covered. These kind of things, whether there's tents on the property or not, are happening everywhere. That people, their rents are getting jacked up. The landlords, the buildings are trying to sell. Wall Street and the companies that Wall Street owns are going in, buying up properties and then jacking up rents. It's becoming an economic Hunger Games. You might think I'm using that term tongue in cheek. I'm not. We want to show a mashup of my reporting there in Philadelphia the other night. I interviewed a few of the residents, showed some of the signs that they've put up. It's not the kind of stuff that's sexy. It doesn't go viral on YouTube, but I think it's vitally important. Let's take a look at some of my reporting from the other night. We are at the UC Townhomes, where I was at about a week and a half ago. Right behind me is a bunch of tents, which sprung up a couple weeks ago because the residents here, mostly low income, many of whom have lived here for decades, are being forced out, threatened with eviction by September because the landlord wants to sell the property that they've lived in for years to a real estate developer. So the residents here who are fighting this eviction invited community members to come out and help them stop this eviction. So the tents here, which have been here for a few weeks, are community members who are supporting the residents and trying to fight this economic terrorism. Forget the word gentrification.
As we see with the neighborhood that's already been gentrified already around us, they're putting up luxury stature, like luxury housing, luxury apartments, condos, buildings that cater to people with a lot of money and things of that nature. Like you look around us, they're building all types of centers that cater to people with money. Meanwhile, the residents here are being pushed out and flushed out and all across the city. They're trying to establish these places all across the city, and they're pushing the people that have built communities here for years, because like this is one big community, but really, to be perfectly honest, our community in here and then our community out here. So we have built two communities out here, and they're stripping both of those away from us. Like our people that's been out here, the residents and our community supporters and our teams that we've dealt with throughout all of this, we have built the community out here that everybody has been welcome to join us as far as supporting our cause.
What's your reaction that a judge has said your allies who have been protesting out here have to leave?
This is that to me, it's a blatant excuse of people of higher power trying to play God with the lives of citizens of the city. And this is something that we will not stand for. Like, you cannot shut the voices of the people down. The voices of the people will be heard whether they like it or not, or whoever don't like it. Our voices will be heard. The voices of the people will be heard. Residents, community members that have stood up to support, and anybody else who stands up to support. Our voices will be heard.
Just so you know, to the audience, this is a HUD apartment complex. So the owner has a contract with HUD, Housing and Urban Development, and decided not to renew it. But have you gotten any response from him? Have the politicians responded to this, or they're just basically allowing you to be out here, but come September, good luck?
Yeah, it's been no response as far as I'm aware of. How about you? No response?
Not so far as we're aware. At best, there have been third-party communications, but it is not my understanding that that anybody who is in a position to make a substantive and consequential decision about the matter have communicated with us directly in any meaningful way.
The property owner hasn't responded, the city politicians haven't responded, so they're just basically ignoring a major protest in the city.
And I would like to know again, why? I know I said why before and everything, but why? Why won't they respond? Why don't they want to speak to us? I don't understand that. I mean, I never seen my landlord. That sounds weird. I never seen him. So I would like to know, especially in a situation like this, like why wouldn't he want to talk to us? Why wouldn't he want to make plans for us to move or whatever it is that he wants us to do, or we could come together and talk? Like, I don't know what's that all about.
What you're talking about is you got senior citizens here, disabled people. I mean, that's crucial to get to your doctors, to get to the grocery store, etc.
Exactly. And the grocery store is the ones that I imagine many of us many of the persons use is 3 short blocks south of here.
It just seems to me like, whether it's here, other places, the media and the politicians act like, oh, we're developing economic development and we're putting in nice restaurants and universities. And it's kind of, this is like, let's just brush this under the rug. What's happening to folks like you and the people being priced out everywhere.
And it's going unchecked for so long. And see, another thing too, everything talk about development, none of that matters if the wage doesn't meet the market. And that's really one of the main factors behind all of this, is that the working wage is not built up to the housing market and the other markets that surround it. The working wage needs to be raised in Pennsylvania as a whole for any type of development to work where people can actually sustain themselves. And that's one of the huge problems that's going on for well over half a century, is the working wage and people just redeveloping and sweeping out communities. Those two things have to change for any economic development, quote unquote, can really be successful among the people, be successful for the people.
What used to be generally understood as middle class pit against actual buying power, that has diminished. And so many of these kids, if not their own families, at least know some persons who are not that far removed from our situation. You know what I mean? So, and that's probably a part of the reason why they're here as well, because they see the writing on the wall for their own communities. If inflation and all the other things that accompany economic domination goes unchecked.
There seems to be a real gap between what the politicians and the media think and what you're experiencing.
Well, maybe because they have it, because we don't have it. I'm in a reception. I don't have it. The food costs, the housing costs. That's why we're here.
So
You're in it. I'm in it. I'm living it every day, every second, every minute. I'm living it. So yes, we are in a reception. I mean, this is very, very difficult, like I said before, and it's very hard. I mean, we're in a situation that I'm dealing with a lot of anxiety and panic attacks, because every day is nerve-wracking. I don't know what's next.
We are supposed to uplift our fellow man and or woman. We're supposed to uplift our natural gifts from God. People, we're supposed to uplift each other and help each other get through things. And like people have their own misconception about how to treat other people. And really what this comes down to is people don't have their priorities straight, or what their purpose in this life is. And the purpose in life is just naturally to survive. But if you're in a position where you can help others that need that help, and you're in position to do so, that should be done so. That's part of the purpose of living. It's helping your fellow man and or woman, as I would say.
So you see the residents' demands: stop the demolition, give us more time, make immediate repairs, provide just compensation, save the townhomes. If you want to check out more, it's savetheuctownhomes.com. But this is also artwork, some of which was made by children. Help save our children, stop the sale. Our community is not for sale. You got a protest encampment, a tent city, in the middle of a major American city. You don't see mainstream media out here, do you? It's really outrageous, and that's why I call this economic terrorism. I don't call it that for a punchline. It's pretty terrorizing if you don't know where you and your kids are going to be in a month. Where is the media on this? Seriously, where is the media on this? Nowhere to be found. National media, local media is barely covering it. Support Status Coup. Support us so we could grow, so we could bring on new reporters, hosts, and cover more of these stories. StatusCoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Before we go, I want to air another interview, this one with Wisconsin activists who are taking a different approach to trying to get universal health care. I'll let you decide whether you think this is a good idea or not. I think it definitely has its strengths and weaknesses, but I was happy to interview them. They're part of our Wisconsin Revolution. Here's my interview with some of the activists who have now got universal health care on the ballot in Dunn County in Wisconsin. Hey, it's Jordan. I'm delighted to be joined by John and Steve. You're with our Wisconsin Revolution. We need a revolution. Why not start it in Wisconsin? And there's actually some momentum here. I'm very excited to hear about this on potentially a ballot measure on universal health care right there in Wisconsin. So can you guys kind of tell us, the news on this? Because from what you've sent me, you might be able to get it on the ballot.
I don't know, John, do you want to answer that?
Yeah,
or?
Sure. Well, it's there are 72 counties in Wisconsin, and we will have it on the ballot of one county, because each county and each county clerk produces the ballot for each county, and Wisconsin statute allows for county boards to put advisory referendums on the ballot for each county. And due to time constraints, and when we started working on this for this November, we're only going to be able to have it for one county. And the county that we chose to start in is the county where I live, in Dunn County. And it's significant for many reasons. From the best of our knowledge, it's the first time that an advisory referendum asking voters about a national health insurance program, I think it's the first time that it's been on a ballot in Wisconsin. And also, Dunn County is a rural county. It's a county that votes conservative often, and so the county board reflects that. But what we're trying to do is kind of change the conversation around the issue so that it's not political, and that's why county boards are nonpartisan in Wisconsin, and we tried to figure out a way to present it to people who are, surrounding this issue that affects everyone. And we got it introduced, and kind of surprisingly, even to us, it passed the committee and the full county board unanimously to put it on the ballot for the voters in November.
And the ballot question would basically be, do you approve of a national healthcare system?
Steve, you want to read the language?
Yeah, I was part of the committee that put this together, and we talked about a number of different phrases that have been used in the past, in particular by left-leaning people: single payer, Medicare for all, universal health care. And we concluded that they were not only not maybe precise in what we were talking about, but that had become so politically polarized that they could become an impediment to getting this passed. So here's what we came up with that will appear on the ballot in Dunn County. Shall Congress and the President of the United States enact into law the creation of a publicly financed, nonprofit, national health insurance program that will fully cover medical care costs for all Americans? And we think that that, at least in part, was what gave us the unanimous decision in Dunn County to put it on the ballot. And we're just, frankly, we're all stunned we got a unanimous vote. And we think maybe we're onto something about how to talk to regular people in a nonpartisan manner about an issue that matters to them, their neighbors, their families, and to kind of cut through the political polarization in the country and get down to a genuine, bread and butter kitchen table issue.
Right. And in a rural area, sounds like it's probably more conservative. So the fact that at least it passed this nonpartisan board, if framed in this way, could potentially even get popular support among more conservative voters.
Yeah, that's right. And I've been on the county board here for 4 years prior to me joining our Wisconsin Revolution. And the reason I thought that this might work was because I've had great conversations with people on that board, and we don't talk about what political affiliation we are. And I saw a lot of people, because in Wisconsin, it's state statute mandates that each county balances their budget each year. So the budget is pretty much the main thing that the county board deals with, how to allocate taxpayer money to, plow the roads and deliver the services that people need. And every month in Dunn County, just one of 72, a relatively small county, they spend on average for health insurance for their employees anywhere between $390,000 to $600,000 a month. This is just in Dunn County. And so I have seen people on the board who run the spectrum politically, I'm sure, look at those numbers every month. And then at the end of the year, they're crunching the budget for a few $100s here and a few $100s there, and having to cut services and cut jobs, and just to come at it from that angle to say, can you imagine what a national health insurance program would do to local bodies of government financially if they could free up all those funds for all sorts of other things? And that, turns on light bulbs in people's heads. And, you combine that with a lot of public comment from friends and neighbors of people on the board with those healthcare stories that we all have and that we've all heard. And also remind them that we're not asking Dunn County to fix our national health insurance problems. We're just asking them to put it on the ballot so that the citizens and their neighbors can start to have that conversation between now and November. And it's, put forth by the most local body of government, which is usually the most responsive. And it seemed to work.
And is the goal, let's say you get it passed on this ballot measure, which is basically just the message of support for it, is the goal then to get it on the ballot in more counties and then possibly shift to a ballot measure for actual single payer in Wisconsin?
Steve?
I would say yes and no. We want to get this on the ballot in other counties going forward through the spring elections. Next April in Wisconsin, we have the spring elections. And there's a pretty big turnout because there will be a state Supreme Court seat on the ballot. So we expect a lot of voters to come out for that. And then we will get a bead on the 2024 elections and try to expand our reach. But no, I wouldn't say that what we're trying to do is get single payer in Wisconsin. Okay. Because the ballot question language talks about a national health insurance program. We're actually hoping maybe this will catch fire in other states. A poll is one thing. There's all kinds of polls out there about who supports Medicare for all. But then if you tell them that means the end of private insurance, maybe they don't support it so much. Polls can be deceiving, I think, as we've all learned over the last couple of election cycles. But if we put a very simple question to the voters without phrases, frankly, like single payer or Medicare for all, or even universal health care, if we describe it exactly as what it is and what we're calling for, we think we found out in Dunn County, even in a maybe slightly leaning conservative county, rural Wisconsin, that people approve of this. And we're going to run the best campaign we can in Dunn County, 45,000 people, west central Wisconsin, to try to get our numbers as high as we can, to demonstrate to people elsewhere that if we can cut through our politics, not worry about party politics, talk directly to what people need in their everyday lives. In some areas, we have more in common, obviously, than we have differences. The American healthcare system is barbaric. It puts people into bankruptcy. It lets people die from deferring care. It's just an out of control, overly costly system, and kind of everybody knows it. And I think that's how we got this unanimous vote in Dunn County. And we think that we're onto something and we can get it elsewhere.
And I think it's, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if someone asks like you did, what is the goal? I say the goal is to just change the conversation. And Steve said to hope that catches fire. And I use the fire department example. And I would like to change this issue from a partisan thing to an issue like you discussed the fire department. You know, if you're left or right and you talk to somebody about the fire department, they say, okay, we need that. How are we going to pay for it? How are we going to make it happen? And so if we can push this conversation forward so that all across Wisconsin and across the country, this is how people deal with it, no matter what political sign they have in their yard. This is how they start to think about the issue. Then they will demand of their lawmakers at the federal level, like, let's get this done. Obviously, the capacity for this government to do it is there. So why aren't we doing it? You know?
Well, I also think, I think Bernie attempted to do this nationally. If you could also make the argument, which I think most people respond to, of how wasteful the current system is and how a universal system would save municipalities, local governments a lot of money.
School board.
Yeah, that could be appealing to any type of voter, whatever your ideology is.
That's right. That's a big part of it.
And can you kind of talk about Wisconsin in particular? Biden, I believe, only won Wisconsin by 20,000 votes. It's really become, a major swing state, obviously, over the last few years. It's got a Democratic governor, but, Republican legislature. I would think, the media has framed it like, oh, these swing states and Midwestern voters, they don't want socialism and all those things. I know you're trying to take it away from the partisan lens, but I don't know. I've traveled the country. I've been to Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio. Most of the voters I know, these policies are pretty popular outside of just polls. I mean, just talking to people, they're for most of these things. Is that what you've seen in your conversations locally in Wisconsin?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I ran for state assembly a couple of years ago. And that's largely what I found. And what the polls reflect about issues like healthcare, legalizing marijuana, and many others, the majority of the people are in favor of those things. And then you can dissect the reasons that the legislature is made up how it is, with the maps and with the way things are done. But yeah, I don't feel like it's a daunting task to we have to change people's minds or convince people. It's just, it's how you frame it and how you show people that first and foremost, we're neighbors and we're all going to be here together, and we don't need to agree on everything to have a much better system and a much better state and country.
Right.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I live in far northern Wisconsin, about 90 miles north of John. I'm about 65 miles south of Duluth, Superior, up on the Big Lake. And so this is conservative redneck country up here. I can go into any redneck bar up here, and I have, because I like to have a beer every now and then. And if you get into casual conversation with people, and sometimes I'll steer it that way, I can talk to anybody about how nobody should go bankrupt in America because they got sick. Everybody up here sees on a regular basis, in any tavern, coffee shop, restaurant, there's always a benefit to raise money for somebody who was uninsured, underinsured. It's a testament to how good people are, fundamentally, that they'll come together and try to raise that money to pay off those medical bills. But everybody knows it's never enough. If you go in with your ball cap on, without any pretensions, and talk about, again, pardon the cliche, kitchen table issues, and say stuff like that, everybody agrees with you. The Democratic Party, if they wanted to, could message like this and carry the day on this issue. And they won't. That's part of the problem. They won't, because they're beholden to big pharma, the health insurance lobby, maybe the AMA and the American Hospital Association. So I think all we've got left is to go local with the means that are available to us, have the conversations we know how to have in a plain and simple way. And maybe this can bubble up from the bottom.
Right.
Yeah, it was notable in the deliberations when it passed the committee and in conversation afterward at the county board with board members and members of the public, but board members specifically. Nobody had the argument. The debate was basically, is this under the purview of the county? Will this make a difference? Why are we talking about this when we have so many county issues to discuss? But nobody, not one single person said, I think the system we have is great. And I don't think we should have this discussion. I think that every single person, when they brought up what they were about to say, even if they weren't initially in favor of it, they gave the caveat at the beginning, yeah, this system is horrible and it needs to change. Everybody who spoke.
So this is on the ballot now for November in Dunn County.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Great. All right. We'll have to keep in touch, see how it goes. And if you're victorious, maybe there's momentum past that. So thank you guys for filling me in.
Will you have us back if we win it big?
We sure will.
Alrighty. Thanks, Jordan.
All right. Take care. Thanks for watching. And make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.